When I first went to school to study psychology in the late 80s and 90s, both undergrad and grad school, we were taught about, the OGs in the space, B.F. Skinner, Sigmund Freud, and most people who practiced, who I was aware of, were students of these theorists and their theories and put the theories to work. A person might be a Freudian psychologist. I'm not a historian as it relates to this space, but it seemed to me that more than any other single thing, managed care upset the space and created change. Managed care came along and said, prove it. Prove it that you can do more with 40 weeks with a patient or a client than you can with 4. Prove that this therapy works better than that therapy. Prove that therapy works better than nothing. Demonstrate to us why we should pay for this thing. And we had a lot of trouble doing that. So the market was upset, and you saw change created. Now, when this change really took hold, I had already transitioned from counseling to consulting. But when the new therapies started really coming into vogue and sweeping the globe, I went back. And practiced family therapy for 6-7 years or more. I learned one of, if not the most popular family therapy. I've worked with different populations, but that's been the population I've worked with most, families, parents, and troubled teens in particular. And FFT, functional family therapy, was, as I say, one of, if not the most popular. It's practiced in a great many countries all over the world. Highly, highly respected. Governments pay for it. In Washington, D.C., the city pays for it for folks who are ordered to it or otherwise can't afford it. And this was like 15 years ago. They were paying $250 an hour then. And understand that a city's buying in bulk, so they're going to get the best possible rate. When I trained in FFT, it's pretty extensive training. You don't just read a book and take a test. I was flown out to Denver to train initially in the first round of training, and we spent a week out there. FFT has 3 phases, and I imagine most methodologies have 3 to 5. Phase 1 is introduction. You're getting to know your clients. They're getting to know you. You're understanding the issue that they're facing, what they want to achieve, and building some rapport, establishing a relationship. Phase 2 is when the change work really takes place. And then phase 3, I started my career in psych hospitals, so I've always termed it discharge planning, which holds regardless of whether you're in or outpatient. It's getting the person or group, in this case a family, ready to go without you. Whatever they've learned, whatever progress they've made, whatever tools they've adopted, you're planning for their continued use. You want to maintain the progress that's been made and further it without you. Pretty standard stuff. When we were in Colorado learning the first phase, which was a heavy focus on being strengths-based. You focus on what's positive, not what's negative. You focus on the individual's strengths and not their weaknesses. For example, a kid might say, my dad just won't leave me alone. He's all up in my business. I'm 16 and he won't give me a break. He monitors my phone. He's got some tracking on it. He comes into my room. He always wants to know where I'm going and who I'm going with. The therapist might say, so what I'm understanding is that your father cares a great deal for you. He loves you and he's concerned about you and wants to make sure that you're safe. As the training was progressing, the therapists wanted to know what's phase 2. What's behind the curtain? What has enabled this therapy to sweep the globe in this way, to eclipse that which has come before it? Why is it so popular? What's so great about it? And the trainer kept saying, oh, wait till we get to phase 2. It's going to blow your mind. It became like a running joke. Anytime someone would ask about what's behind the curtain, what's phase 2, she'd say, oh, wait till we get there, wait till we get there. On the latter part of the 3rd day or the beginning of the 4th, she introduces phase 2 to us. And she says, okay, here it is. You guys ready? Do whatever works. That's it. And there's some logic there, because you're working with a diverse problem set, if you will. Like, you might face a family where they're highly functional, but they've lost someone. Maybe the mother or father passed, and they're dealing with that grief and struggling to communicate with one another what they're feeling. Maybe you're dealing with an addiction. The parent or the kid are addicted, or some chronic mental illness, or financial problems. And what you want to use as an intervention is whatever works. What does the literature say? What does the research say is the best evidence-based thing to do? The point then, and what we all had to acknowledge and embrace, is that the single thing that had created all of this success of this particular methodology, and this is true of all the methodologies that you'll see, just about all of them. The thing that mattered, the thing that matters most, is a focus on the positive. And understand that I'm loading the videos that I'm making now to LinkedIn. I tell this story and load this video onto LinkedIn because the mentorship dynamic is the same across environments. That is to say, what works for parents with their kids works for managers with their workers. And what doesn't work for parents with their kids doesn't work for managers with their workers. What we typically do when there's a problem, especially when that problem is an individual and their behavior, we of course focus on the problem. We're frustrated, and we talk about the problem, and we believe that the strong leader, the strong mentor, does so in no uncertain terms. You focus on the problem with a certain intensity. You see it at home and you see it at work. And yet what we know, and let me say, as I say all the time, this isn't my opinion. This isn't Mark's loving approach to mentorship. This is what the science says. What actually works in creating change is a strengths-based approach. It's a focus on the positive. And as simplistic as this is going to sound, I think it may actually be as simple as, because that's what people will listen to. In his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which, whether you like the book or Carnegie or not, it's been a bestseller for like 100 years. And the premise of the book's in the first chapter. It's in the first paragraph, rather. He says, people don't take criticism. It may not be any more complicated than that. Now, the methods that you use are more elaborate. There's more to learn than just that. There's a methodology on my website. It's 5 methods. It's free. You can have it. And there's more to the science than just that. But at its most basic, in lay terms, a strengths-based approach works at home and in the workplace. A focus on the positive works, probably more so than for any other reason, because that's what people will listen to. When you say something complimentary, positive, when you say something that someone wants to hear, they hear it.